Yes, guys, welcome to the new mini-series where we're going to be rating the Real Madrid 2019-2020 La Liga season. Let's get started. Welcome back to El Merengue Culé. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you haven't watched my brothers Barcelona 2019-2020 La Liga Barcelona player ratings, make sure you go check that out. To give you a little background on how we're going to be doing this is I'm going to be going through each player today, starting with the defenders, and they're each going to get a rating from 1 to 10, with 5 being like the neutral, the middle ground, you know? So if they're getting a 5 rating, that means that they neither had a bad season nor a good season. It's just somewhere average. Without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Our first player that we're going to be talking about is Alvaro Odriozola. Now, you may be asking yourself, who is that player? And if you're not a hardcore Real Madrid fan, then you may not know who that is, because yes, he barely played, and not only did he barely play, but he was loaned out at the middle of the season to Bayern Munich. Why was he loaned out? Because he just simply wasn't doing anything for us. You know, he was riding that bench. He played 4 games throughout a whole first half of the season. And not only that, but at the end of each player, I'm gonna give you guys my most memorable moment for this player. And for him, it's not a good one. It was the first game we lost in La Liga against Mallorca. That 1-0 loss that he finally got to start a game and he bottled it. He got a red card. He had he misplaced so many passes, horrible defending. The goal came from his side. It was just horrendous. So yes, Alvaro Diarra gets a 3 out of 10 rating. Okay, so our next player is none other than Afonso Areola. Now this player came into the squad last minute when we sold Keylor Navas to PSG, and we kind of needed a second goalie, so he came in, and I mean his duty was just that, to come in and save a spot of a player that wasn't going to play much of the season. So yes, as you would expect, he spent the majority of the season on the bench. He only played 4 games, and he had more goals scored on against him than he played games, with exactly 5 goals scored on against him. His most memorable play this season for me is one game against Osasuna in the first half of La Liga. They crossed the ball, and rather than just kind of grabbing it with both hands, he jumps up and just palms the hand, grabs it down with one hand, and just kind of continues. That was literally his highlight play for me. So other than that, like I said, he got scored on a lot of times. So with that being said, I'm going to have to give him a 4 out of 10. You know, didn't do too much bad, but the fact that he got scored on so many goals in such a little playing time, that kind of brings him down a little bit. So 4 out of 10 for Afonso Areola. And moving on, we're going to go on to none other than our handyman, Nacho Fernandez. Now this player, I love the guy. He is someone that bleeds Real Madrid. You know, he's been with us since he was in Real Madrid Castilla. So he's gone through all the youth rankings for Real Madrid and has always been there, on the bench, ready to come on whenever he's needed. He will play in any position. However, in the past 4 seasons, he's been averaging about 20 games a season. Someone's 25, someone's 23, 28, somewhere around there. In this season, he only played 6 games. Now, he only played 6 games, not only because he's getting older, and this whole season, those 6 games that he played, he started to look pretty slow out there. He wasn't making as good of tackles as he usually would before, and it just seemed like, you know, we got other players like Mendy that kind of took his left back position that he was someone sub in for Marcelo. So overall, that with a combination of injuries just kind of led to a pretty horrific season for him. However, there is one thing to rescue from Nacho this season, and that is the fact that he gave us 3 points. 3 points against Valladolid. It was in the first round of La Liga when we played against them. Minute 78, I believe. I remember, I was watching that game, biting my nails. We were tied 0-0. We get a corner, take the cross, and Nacho Fernandez leaps up and heads it to the back post. So Nacho, thank you for those 3 points. However, that only cuts it for a 4.5 rating this season. The 0.5 coming from that goal. Moving on, we have Ejermilio. Now, let's keep in mind, he is a young Brazilian center back. He's actually been playing already in the top flight teams for about 2 years. So we kind of forget that he's a really young player. He played for Porto. We brought him in this season as our reserve center back. However, he unfortunately didn't get too much playing time. That, along with the combination that Ramos and Varane just had a phenomenal season, who we'll get to later in this video. It just kind of affected him. And so Zidane didn't really trust him very much. He had a lot of on and off games there would be some games where he would just do really good. There was one game that I commented, I think I did a live analysis, I think it was against Atletico Bilbao, where he just had a phenomenal game. He was actually my man of the match. But then there was other games where he would just come in and he was looking a little bit, not slow, but like slow in his thought process, what he wanted to do, a little bit lacking confidence, which makes sense since he didn't really get too much trust from Zinedine Zidane. With that being said, I'm going to be giving Ejermilio a 5 out of 10 rating. However, he is going to be crucial. And you know how I've been saying, my most memorable moment. But for him, it hasn't come yet. Why hasn't it come yet? Because he's going to play against Manchester City in a couple of weeks. In that game will be his most memorable game of the season. With that being said, we're going to be moving on to another Brazilian by the name of, you guessed it, Marcelo. Now, Marcelo has given everything to this club. Everything since he got here, 12 years ago? I mean, this guy revolutionized the position of left back in the world of soccer, but we're unfortunately seeing a decline from him. Last season was horrendous from him, and this season, it really could only get better, and it did. He got a little bit of his playing style back. However, it still doesn't really cut it for me. He looked very unfocused a lot of the times. He doesn't track back to defense anymore. He's very good offensively. That is his main quality, his footwork. I mean, this guy has the technique of a center attacking mid. I'm sure if in FIFA, whenever you put players up there at center attacking mid, go ahead and put Marcelo on there. He will score you goals. He will get you assists because he's a phenomenal player with his feet. However, defending, the guy just lacks that physical attribute. He's not very fast. He's not very strong. And like I said, he lacks a little bit of concentration at times. So unfortunately, for Marcelo, I'm going to have to give him a 6 out of 10. However, my most memorable moment for Marcelo this season was against none other than Barcelona. So it was whenever we beat them 2-0 at the Estadio Santiago Bernabeu. And I clearly remember we were up 1-0 after Vinicius Jr. had already scored the opening goal. And Messi has basically like a one-on-one. And this is one of the few times that Marcelo got his happy ass back and made a final tackle. Barely got a touch on the ball to hit it right away from Messi, right as he was going to shoot. So honestly, that probably would have gone in. And Marcelo, had you not made that tackle, Barcelona could have tied that game, and who knows where La Liga would have proceeded on. So thank you very much for that tackle. Moving on, we have Daniel Carvajal, our starting right back. Now this guy, I think he redeemed himself. Why do I say that? When he got to Real Madrid, probably 7 years ago, he had a phenomenal spell of 3, 4, 5 seasons. However, last season, as most players did, he had a horrible season. Once again, he was not getting back in defense, just like Marcelo. One of his other qualities was his crossing, right? He had very good offensive-minded soccer style of play, and he wasn't on point. So he was basically not bringing anything in the attack, not bringing anything in defense. However, this season, he was a rock. He was a rock. He actually has that physical strength that allows him to get back in defense, but like I've been mentioning, his attacking capabilities. With that being said, his crossing is his biggest attribute, and he had 5 assists this season. Not only that, but that leads me to my most memorable moment for Carvajal this season, which is a couple games ago against Getafe. Guys, go watch that video if you haven't. I did an analysis after the game, and I was insanely nervous that game because I knew that win was massive for us. It was already minute I think 80, and it honestly did not look like Real Madrid was going to break the deadlock. Getafe was playing great defense, and Carvajal, out of nowhere, creates a play by himself, dribbles through a couple players, and then right as he was going to fake like he was going to cross the ball, pulls it back, gets fouled, we get a penalty, and none other than Mr. Sergio Ramos buries it in the back of the net. And those 3 points honestly gave us such confidence to face the rest of La Liga, and that gave us that was a 4-point gap against Barcelona. So it was just a huge win for us. So anyways, Carvajal, you get a 7.5 rating for me. Decent season. I hope you can improve next year, but if not, at least stay consistent with that. Now I want to hit the brakes real quick and give a quick shout out to Sam Madrid. Now he correctly predicted who was going to be qualifying to the Europa League and also getting relegated by saying that Villarreal and Real Sociedad would be successfully qualifying to the Europa League and Leganés would be going down to the second division. So congratulations to you, my man. You get your shout out. And with that being said, I also want to remind you guys to make sure you hit that like button down below if you're enjoying this video, and can't wait to see who my #1 defender of this year is, as well as make sure you hit that subscribe button down below to stay up to date with all the latest analysis here at El Merengue Culé. Moving on with the final 4 players of this ranking is Ferland Mendy. Now, this guy, what a signing. Our top signing this year, unfortunately, yes, it's not Eden Hazard as we probably would have all wished, but Ferland Mendy, wonderful player that we got. Once again, from Zinedine Zidane's great vision on who to pick up, like what players to pick up. I mean, his speed, his strength, he literally brought everything that Marcelo was lacking. We really needed a defender that would actually stay back, would stay focused the whole time, and that's exactly what Ferland Mendy brought. Not only that, but his blistering pace. Guys, this guy's explosion, honestly, if you're a defender and you have him with the ball right there, you better start running already, because this guy can just take a touch past you, beat you. And that being said, that reminds me of his goal against Granada. Once again, one of our final games of the season when we really had to clinch those 3 points to really secure that title, the title hopes. And Ferland Mendy jumps out there within the first 10 minutes of the game and scores an absolute screamer down that left-hand side by just blasting the ball over the goalkeeper's head. Amazing goal. If you haven't watched that, make sure you also go find I think my brother actually did the live reaction videos to that game, so make sure you go check that out. I'm going to be giving Ferland Mendy an 8 out of 10 rating. So amazing season by you, and you can still improve. You're a very young player, and we have a lot to see from you. Moving on, we are going to another French defender, and yes, you guessed it, Raphael Varane. Now, Rafa Varane, he is like the silent giant of the team, you know? I can't really pinpoint a specific memorable moment, but that's not a bad thing because he played almost every game of the season. He's just constantly making tackles. He's not a dirty player by any means. He's aggressive, but he's not dirty, barely ever fouls, constantly winning tackles, constantly distributing the ball. And I mean, his pace, guys, to have a center back that has the pace of Raphael Varane is just a security. It allows the team to move forward, press higher, and in case you lose the ball, you know you have the security of a fast center back that will be able to track back and run along with those fast attackers that a lot of teams normally have. With that being said, he actually had his most scoring season with only, 3 goals. He's a center back, but still, that's his most scoring season ever for Real Madrid in I think almost 10 years now. And along with that, it was the season where he's played the most minutes. So that just goes on to show the trust that Zinedine Zidane has for this great center back, who I'm going to be giving an 8.5 out of 10 rating. Great job, Raphael Varane. Moving on to our last 2 players, we have our Samoa winner of the season. Samoa is the trophy for the goalie with the most clean sheets or least goals conceded of the year. And that is, you guessed it, Thibaut Courtois. Now, this guy was bashed on last year after coming in from Chelsea, had a pretty rough season at Real Madrid, sharing minutes with Keylor Navas. However, this season, Zinedine Zidane assured him that he was going to be the #1 man for the job. And what did he do? He silenced all the critics. He said, I am here for this position. The goal is mine, and I'm going to make sure that stays that way. So with that being said, he had 18 clean sheets in this whole La Liga in 34 games that he played. That is an average of more than 50% of his games where he got a clean sheet. He came up huge in so many games where we barely had a 1-0 lead, or we were still tied and that we ended up winning 1-0 afterwards. So Thibaut Courtois was a rock for us, and that leads me to my most memorable moment for him, which was against Valencia in that first round of La Liga. Guys, we were losing. I believe it was 1-0 to Valencia, right? It was the last minute. Minute 90. We were about to lose. We get a corner kick, and it was one of those epic moments where the goalie comes up all the way to the corner kick to try to get a header in. They cross the ball in, and you just see Thibaut Courtois, this guy's 6'4", 6'5". He leaps over every single defender, heads that ball. It unfortunately hits the crossbar. Imagine had he freaking scored a goal. Well, anyways, it hits the crossbar. comes back down, and Karim Benzema puts the ball away, and we get the tie. And honestly, that was a huge momentum boost for us. Yes, the tie is not, what we aim for, but it was a game that we salvaged the loss, and I think at that time we still had our undefeated streak. So it was just a huge moment for him in the season. So Thibaut Courtois, you get a 9 out of 10 rating from me, and El Merengue Culé approval for the rest of the years that you're going to be under our goal. Great job, great season. And finally, the moment we have all been waiting for. I know you guys already know exactly who I'm going to say, so just go ahead and say it along with me. Mr. Sergio Ramos, El Capitán. I mean, this guy, he's like wine. My goodness, he had his most scoring season. This guy is, 34 years old already? 11 goals. 11 goals. From penalties to free kicks to winning headers in the air. And I mean, don't even get me started with the amount of tackles he makes. Yes. The amount of yellow cards he gets too, I know. But it goes beyond that. The leadership he brings to the team is like no other. Honestly, there's probably center backs right now in the world that are better than him defensively. You have like center backs like Virgil van Dijk, amazing center back. There's other people out there that are probably better defenders than him, but there's no replacement for him. I am sorry, there's absolutely no replacement for this guy, who you can just see him, especially after COVID, where there were no fans. You could hear in the games him talking every single time. Every moment of the game, he's like telling players to track back, telling players to make covers, telling players to, go and attack, motivating his team. He's just everywhere on the field. So my most memorable moment for him this season had to be against Getafe. And like I already said earlier with Carvajal, when he won that penalty, it was up to Sergio Ramos to score it. And I'm telling you guys, that game was a must win for us. It was still we still had 4 or 5 games left, and that was probably one of our toughest opponents that we had left in the Liga. And if we got that win, it would have been huge for us. There were 10 minutes left in the game, and Sergio Ramos had to step up. Guys, I was biting my nails, but honestly, there shouldn't have ever been doubt. Sergio Ramos is gonna bury it in the back of the net. So with that being said, Sergio Ramos gets a 9.5 out of 10 rating. Yes, I know, guys. Y'all are gonna bash me for not giving him a 10 out of 10. The only reason I'm not giving him a 10 out of 10 is because I still remember some parts in the season, before COVID, where Sergio Ramos tends to come out a bit unfocused sometimes. He tends to make a little bit of reckless challenges. He sometimes just kind of pushes up without really making sure someone is covering his back. So that little reason makes me want to track it down to 9.5. However, El Capitán, Sergio Ramos, all Madridistas are forever grateful for you, and we hope to see you next year and many more to come. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe like I mentioned earlier so you can stay up to date. Remember, I'm still going to be releasing the next video for the Real Madrid midfielder player ratings and the attackers, so make sure you stay tuned for that. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you next video, and Ala Madrid.